Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you have not done so yet, please do take the time to like, share, and consider subscribing. It does help the channel in growth and to be seen by other people. I'm here to talk to you about your intuition. Something that's not really a point of conversation. When was the last time you sat down and talked to anyone about your intuition and held a very lengthy conversation about it? We don't do that. A lot of people actually tend to even ignore their intuition. And by intuition, I mean that gut instinct. It might be even a voice that you hear or a hunch that you get regarding anything that's going on in your life. Sort of an internal knowing that suddenly appears from nowhere, guiding you towards something, towards a solution, towards a person, towards a place. And usually, when we as a species follow our gut instinct or that intuition, that intuitive hit, whatever it is you want to call it, we tend to like the results. Remember a time when your gut told you not to do something and you went ahead and did it anyway? How did that turn out for you? Were you happy? Or were you sort of thinking, I should have listened to my gut instinct? Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, the primary wisdom is intuition. I personally call this recognizing, understanding or deciphering, trusting, as well as following your internal guidance, or the guidance that comes through from your higher self, which tends to be your own authentic vibrational signature. One cannot overemphasize the importance of harvesting, really spending the time and the energy in making that connection with your higher self, harvesting it, owning it, understanding it, allowing it, and then following it. Why? Not because you want to sit down with people and tell them I'm an intuitive reader, I'm an energy worker. I can read and decipher subtle energy, which is fine. I do that too. Though I usually tend to get a from people. Nor is it to claim that you are some sort of magnificent, superhuman psychic with psychic abilities, which unfortunately has happened throughout history. I don't want to call being a psychic or an intuitive an industry, because it's an ability that we all have. We just need to unlock it. Seems to me that it has been abused throughout history to perhaps manipulate or control people, or for the benefit of specific people to their own benefit. Not to paint people with such abilities in a negative fashion, but it certainly seems to have left a bad taste in the mouth of the collective. Should you disclose that you are an intuitive or an energy worker or are able to detect subtle energy, a psychic? I don't use that term. I'm not a psychic, but that's besides the point. The reason that you harvest the connection with your higher self and learn to understand and trust and recognize your authentic vibrational signature is not to abuse it, but rather to use it for your own best interest, not at the cost of other people. This is really, really important. Your best interest doesn't have to involve harming other people in any shape or form. The reason you follow your gut instinct is because it will lead you to your highest potential and the best possible outcome and timeline that is available to you. You'll be able to make choices that will direct you towards a timeline that will lead you to a life that is filled with joy, abundance, happiness, a life fulfilled, the highest potential available to you in this lifetime will be reached by simply learning to trust your intuition. Cultivating that intuition tends to happen in silence and in stillness, and usually in the presence of an inspiration that tends to come from a different level, and you will be able to recognize that. Now, having said all that, I should probably point out that there is also a different level of intuition that is within this plane or within this realm, the human part of your intuition, as opposed to the divine or higher self part of your intuition. I'll give you an example. I was recently having an online conversation with a lovely, lovely gentleman who is a friend of mine. And I asked him, he's probably watching this video right now. I did ask him, do you follow your intuition? When do you follow it? Do you follow it? And he responded to me with an interesting phrase that stated that he follows his intuition like in his workouts, because he has done his workouts repeatedly and so many times that he has developed a knowledge of what feels good to him. Another example of this is you, let's say, not wanting to have a certain conversation with a loved one because you know that loved one very well and you know that they might not be able to handle the conversation. You can predict the way that they will behave and react. That is not the intuition that we are addressing here. That is not your authentic vibrational signature. This tends to come from this realm, from the human plane. Higher intuition or divine knowledge that comes from within and arises from within tends to come from a completely different place. If you're a person who's not a big fan of the news and doesn't fit, you never really fit into mainstream society, you might find that there isn't much of a gap, there isn't much of a difference between your human intuition that you operate, day to day using common sense, if you may, and your higher intuition, which is your gut instinct, that knowing that comes, like all of a sudden you know something. You will find that they tend to complement each other. Now, having said that, there tends to be a magnificent gap for many other people. The way I see it, it seems to get worse as their positions involve more power. The biggest gap is probably present in those who hold government positions, or really any position of authority. Get ready, because this next part is probably going to be triggering. During COVID, the fear that was pumped into society allowed people to deny their fellow human the basic courtesy of a handshake. Civility in its essence was lost, and many would tell you that it has yet to return. With the loss of civility, you had the loss of many relationships, as well as of many friendships. I guess the logical question would be, would those who have bowed down to fear during COVID, would they have made the same decisions that they made if it involved cutting people out of their lives, ending friendships and relationships, stopping communication with certain people? Would they have made the same decisions had they trusted their higher guidance a bit more than they trusted the news? If they allowed their higher guidance to override what the news was saying, would have society have suffered as much as it did? One wonders. The good news is, intuition does not need to be taught. It needs to be allowed. And the only person that needs to allow it is you. No other person, no other authority, just you. It all starts by you believing in your innate ability to know from within and trusting it, not turning or looking outside of yourself for answers or to know anything, especially the news or your local authorities or even your family members. This innate ability to know is always within us. It has always been within us. The only thing is that it lays dormant. It lays dormant, waiting for you to turn towards it. Kind of like a flower turns to the sun in order to bloom. In closing, I would like to quote Albert Einstein in saying, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." And we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift.